Kathy Boudin is an adjunct professor at Columbia University, and also works in program development related to healthcare for people who are HIV positive, at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital. She was a far-left radical who was convicted in 1984 of felony murder for her participation in the Brinks Robbery of 1981, which resulted in the killing of 2 police officers and a security guard. She was released from prison in 2003. Early life and family. Kathy Boudin was born on May 19, 1943, into a family with a long left-wing history, and she was raised in Greenwich Village, New York. Her family was Jewish. Her great-uncle was Louis B. Boudin, a Marxist theorist. Her father, attorney Leonard Boudin, had represented such controversial clients as Judith Coplon, the Cuban government, and Paul Robeson. A National Lawyers Guild attorney, Leonard Boudin was the law partner of Viktor Rabinowitz, himself counsel to numerous left-wing organizations. Weather Underground. In the 1960s and 1970s, Boudin became heavily involved with the Weather Underground. The Weathermen bombed the Pentagon, the United States Capitol, the New York Police Benevolent Association, the New York Board of Corrections, as well as the offices of multinational companies. Boudin, along with Kathy Wilkerson, was a survivor of the 1970 Greenwich Village townhouse explosion, the premature detonation of a nail bomb that had been intended for a soldier's dance at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Boudin was 27 at the time. Both women were awaiting trial, out on bond for their alleged actions in Days of Rage in Chicago several months earlier. She fled underground with other members of the Wu during the 1970s, during which time she fell in love with fellow member David Gilbert and gave birth to their son Shiza in 1980. 1981 Brinks Robbery. In 1981, Boudin and several members of the Weather Underground and the Black Liberation Army robbed a Brinks armored car at the Nanuet Mall, in Nanuet, New York. After Boudin dropped her infant son off at a babysitter's, she took the wheel of the getaway vehicle, a U-Haul truck. She waited in a nearby parking lot as her heavily armed accomplices took another vehicle to a local mall where the Brinks truck was making a pickup. They confronted the guards and gunfire immediately broke out, severely wounding guard Joe Trombino and killing his partner, Peter Page. The four then took $1.6 million in cash and rejoined Boudin. An alert college student called the police after spotting the gang abandoning their vehicle and entering the U-Haul. 2 policemen spotted and pulled over the U-Haul, but they were expecting blackmails, and could only see Boudin, a white female, in the driver's seat. She got out of the cab, and raised her hands. Another police car with 2 officers quickly arrived on the scene. The police officers who caught them testified that Boudin, feigning innocence, pleaded with them to put down their guns and got them to drop their guard. Boudin said she remained silent, that the officers relaxed spontaneously. After the police lowered their guns, 6 men armed with automatic weapons emerged from the back of the truck, and began firing upon the 4 police officers, one of whom, Waverly Brown, was killed instantly. Officer Edward O'Grady lived long enough to empty his revolver, but as he reloaded, he was shot several times with an M16 rifle. 90 minutes later, he died in the hospital. The other 2 officers escaped with minor injuries. Boudin and Gilbert allegedly acted as decoys as well as getaway drivers. The occupants of the U-Haul scattered, some climbing into another getaway car, others carjacking a nearby motorist while Boudin attempted to flee on foot. An off-duty corrections officer, Michael J. Koch, apprehended her shortly after the shootout. When she was arrested, Boudin gave her name as Barbara Edson. Weatherman Gilbert, Samuel Brown, and Judith Alice Clark crashed their car while making a sharp turn, and were arrested by police. 3 Black Liberation Army members also failed to escape that day. 2 days later, Samuel Smith and Nathaniel Burns were spotted in a car in New York. After a gunfight with police that left Smith dead, Burns was captured. 3 more participants were arrested several months later. The majority of the defendants received 3 consecutive sentences of 25 years to life, making them eligible for parole in the year 2058. Boudin hired Leonard Weinglass to defend her. Weinglass, a law partner of Boudin's father, arranged for a plea bargain and Boudin pled guilty to 1 count of felony murder and robbery, in exchange for 120 years to life sentence. By comparison, David Gilbert received 70 years to life and as of 2013 is still incarcerated. After the couple began their prison sentences, Wu co-founder William Ayres and his wife Bernadine Dohrn adopted Shiza Boudin and raised him as their own son. Prison. The 38-year-old Boudin was incarcerated in the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for Women in New York, where she worked with AIDS patients and in adult education. While there, she had a central role in creating 5 formal programs: the Teen Program, supporting teens and preteens whose mothers are incarcerated, strengthening the mother-child bond during their separation, and helping the teens become positive, healthy, young adults. The Parent Education Program, helping inmate mothers to learn to be responsible parents to preschool, grade school, and teenage children while separated by prison. The Adult Literacy Program, which used an innovative curriculum that Boudin wrote, was an outgrowth of the work she did for her master's degree in adult education, earned while at Bedford Hills. The AIDS and Women Unregistered Trademark S Health Program, the first peer community health program devoted to AIDS among prisoners. And, the College Program, which provided courses and degrees to incarcerated women. Boudin helped organize a consortium of private colleges to offer this program after New York State cut all public funding for higher education in prisons. While incarcerated, Boudin published articles in the Harvard Educational Review, in Breaking the Rules, Women in Prison and Feminist Therapy by Judy Harden and Marcia Hill, and in Breaking the Walls of Silence, AIDS and Women in a New York State Maximum Security Prison. She co-authored the Foster Care Handbook for Incarcerated Parents published by Bedford Hills in 1993. She co-edited Parenting from Inside Out, Voices of Mothers in Prison, jointly published by Correctional Institutions and the Osborne Foundation. Boudin also wrote and published poetry while incarcerated, publishing in books and journals including the Penn Center Prize anthology Doing Time, Concrete Garden 4, and Aliens at the Border. She won an International Penn Prize for her poetry in 1999. Boudin continued to pursue her education as a doctoral student at the City University of New York, which included participation in the CUNY Graduate Center research team that produced the study Changing Minds, The Impact of College in a Maximum Security Prison. Boudin and Gilbert's son Shiza Boudin was adopted by former Weatherman leaders Bill Ayres and Bernadine Dohrn. Parole. 3 months after her 60th birthday, Boudin was granted parole on August 20, 2003, in her third parole hearing, and released from Bedford Hills Correctional Facility on September 17, 2003. She accepted a job in the HIV/AIDS clinic at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital Center, meeting the work provisions of parole that required active job prospects. In May 2004, after her parole, Boudin published in the Fellowship of Reconciliation's Publication Fellowship. Subsequently, she received an Ed.D. from Columbia University Teachers College. In addition to her work at St. Luke's Roosevelt, Dr. Boudin has worked as a consultant to the Osborne Association in the development of a long-term responsibility project taking place in the New York State Correctional Facilities, utilizing a restorative practice approach. She has also consulted for Vermont Corrections, the Women Unregistered Trademark S Prison Association, and supervises social workers. Columbia University professor, she is presently an adjunct professor at the Columbia University School of Social Work, a controversial appointment. Regardless of the controversy, Columbia School of Social Work Associate Dean Marianne Yoshioka, who hired Boudin for the adjunct professor post in 2008, was quoted as saying that Boudin has been an excellent teacher who gets incredible evaluations from her students each year. In 2013, she was Schoenberg Scholar in Residence at New York University School of Law. The School of Law maintains a video of her lecture. References. Further reading, New York Times, Topics, Kathy Boudin collected news stories including commentary and archival articles since 1983, New York Times. October 1, 2006. It has been a quarter century since a group of self-styled freedom fighters, including Judith A. Clark, carried out an armored car robbery in Rockland County, New York. The holdup was a final eruption of Vietnam-era extremism and a shattering event for Rockland County, which lost 2 local police officers and a Brinks guard. New York Times. September 6, 2003. Housing complicates Boudin's release. When Kathy Boudin was granted parole last month after 22 years in prison for her role in a 1981 armored car robbery and shootout that left 3 dead, her supporters thought it would be just a matter of days before she gained freedom. Letter from Kathy Boudin 65 Bryn Mawr Alumni Bulletin, letter written in 2001 after she had been incarcerated for 19 years, Elizabeth Colbert, The Prisoner The New Yorker, July 16, 2001, editorial, Kathy Boudin's Time The Nation, September 15, 2003, review of Family Circle The Nation, January 5, 2004. €OEA Family Circle from Hella €26 Thomas Jefferson Law Review 409, a review written by Arthur Austin, Abby Luby, Kathy Boudin's Impact Bedford Record Review, September 2005, final archive of defunct Kathy Boudin website. With articles, letters supporting parole, curriculum vitae, etc. at the Wayback Machine, Family Circle, The Boudins and the Aristocracy of the Left by Susan Braudy, Anchor. 2004, ISBN 978-1-4000-7748-9.